afternoon, everyone. It is day 5 of the Modiragatsi competition training, and we made it through the first week. Well done, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the activities we had in store for you today. I also hope, since we only gave you one assignment for today, that you use the time to catch up on any other assignments you may have left unfinished or that you had to resubmit. Also, remember that you can use this weekend to do that as well. If you still need to complete something over the weekend, please do it, but also get some rest. Next week, we will have a lot of activities and a lot of new themes. We will look at user experience design and how that not only applies to software, but to anything that you interact with. Then we will also look at mobile app development and the typical things that we keep in mind when we develop a mobile app. We will also have a session on intellectual property, and that will be presented by our partners at Kish IP, two amazing ladies who are intellectual property lawyers, patent lawyers. They will be joining us. They will give you a good overview of what intellectual property is and why it is important for you as an innovator to know about these things and to be able to protect your intellectual property. So you will have a short exercise after that to determine what possible intellectual property could be applicable in your project. And then we will end off with building a business. And there, our chartered accountant colleague at the school, the NWU Business School, will join us and tell you all about what the major things are that you need to keep in mind in terms of the business model canvas and pitching that idea that you now wrote down yesterday to a possible investor so that they not only understand what the problem is and why it is a problem, but also understand what your solution is and what you need to make this a reality. So that's typically a pitch that you will give to an investor who will give you the money to make this dream a reality. So that is all in store next week. We will be quite busy, so I hope you rest well, at least on Sunday this week, if not Saturday and Sunday. But I really look forward to next week. I can't believe that we've spent a whole week already. I thought it was Wednesday, and then I realized it's Friday already. So please ask your questions in the live chat. I am available to answer any questions you might have at this point in time. Many of the questions that we saw on the groups, I've answered through the course of the day. There were many people struggling to complete the puzzles, but I think most of you figured it out by now. I see there's a lot of submissions already of people who completed the exercise already. So I think they are in weekend mode already. And then we also received some questions about the goodie bags. The goodie bags weren't sent yet. They're still here in Potch. Just because of the riots and the looting, the couriers didn't want to dispatch it and maybe have it stolen along the way. So we're just keeping an eye on the situation, and hopefully they will dispatch it on Monday, and then you should start receiving it from Tuesday. But I will update you on that by Monday afternoon in the live session. But if you have any questions, please ask them in the chat. Okay, we have a question from Maseko asking me whether I can please explain the activity that you had to complete today. So sure. I gave you a PDF file like this to download, and the main reason why we didn't give you a real game to download and play was just to make sure that regardless of access to data, that all of you can actually complete this exercise and that you can experience the programmatic thinking. So what you have for each level is a sheet like this. You will have an instruction scroll, you will have some instructions, and you will have a map. So what you would do is firstly look at this little man over here, your avatar, to see where you should start. You see there's a 5 printed here, so you will start at point number 5. And then you can see that you should end at point number 3. The portal should be placed at point number 3. And then the instruction says that you need to follow 2 red and 2 green paths to travel between point 5 and point 3. So if you look at this map and you use those constraints, then you see that the only way in which you can follow this, reach that point using only red and green paths, is by following one path from point number 5 to number 2, from point number 2 to point number 0, from 0 to 1, and from 1 to 3. So the answer for level 1 would be 5, 2, 0, 1, 3. And you repeat that for each of the levels until you reach level 15. And then you would have learned the lesson that we wanted you to learn in the process. This will help you think logically. If you were to play the further levels in this amazing game, you can buy this game at CNA, by the way. The further levels include other typical programming challenges, loops and conditional loops, and a lot of other more complicated puzzles to complete. But what I wanted you to do today is just go through the beginner level. So levels 1 to 15, the beginner levels, and just solve these puzzles using logic. That is all part of computational thinking. You would have also seen on the page in terms of the coffee activity that you had to complete, that computational thinking always includes 4 steps. One is decomposition, so breaking up your problem into a number of smaller problems that can be solved easier. Then pattern recognition, seeing a pattern in the problem that you need to solve. Abstraction, so getting the important information about that problem, so you know which issues to address first. And then algorithms, which is what this is all about, teaching you to follow one step after the other and determining what those steps should be so that you can reach a successful outcome. So you had 4 questions that you needed to answer in terms of making a cup of coffee or making a cup of tea. In terms of decomposition, I expected you to just write down all of the typical steps that go into making a cup of coffee. But that doesn't mean that making a cup of coffee with those steps implemented would ensure that you are happy with that cup of coffee. So it would just be general steps. It would not necessarily, it can be steps like add sugar or add milk, but it didn't include add 3 spoons of sugar or 3 teaspoons of sugar or add 50 milliliters of milk. It wouldn't have included specifics that would make this a good cup of coffee for you. So just decomposition is, I give you a complex example or a complex instruction. I tell you, make some coffee. And making some coffee would always involve adding water and either coffee granules or coffee grind to a cup, and that is a plain cup of coffee to join those two. Then the milk or sugar could be part of that process. In terms of pattern recognition, a typical pattern that could emerge when you think about drinking coffee is that you could potentially realize that every time after I drink a cup of coffee at my friend's house at 8 in the evening, that evening I have trouble sleeping. So that is a typical pattern that every time after you drink coffee after a certain time at night, then you have trouble sleeping. In terms of abstraction, you could go and look at that pattern and you can go and look for a good explanation of why you would have trouble sleeping after drinking coffee. And you might, or seeing that pattern, you might realize that it's the coffee and not necessarily you spending time with your friend. So maybe you shouldn't drink coffee and maybe rather stick to some tea. And then algorithmic thinking would be the specific steps in the specific order that you need to follow to make the perfect cup of coffee for you or for me. And for that, you would follow an algorithm. Okay, we have a question from Nolatando asking us whether it is okay if she played the game with her family. Yes, of course. We love it when you share these activities with your family and friends, and if they enjoyed it with you, it's even nicer for us to know that they are involved and encouraging you on this journey. So yes, absolutely, share that with your friends. Uh, do it over and over again. Learn some lessons in the process, and next time someone gives you a puzzle, a root finding puzzle, you might be an expert at it. Okay, you're awfully quiet this afternoon. I think you're all in vacation mode or weekend mode already. So I will stay online for another 5 minutes. If there's any questions within the next 5 minutes, I will still answer them. Otherwise, I will say goodbye in 5 minutes. brings us to the end of our live check-in today. We'll see you bright and early on Monday morning. I will send you your instructions for the day just before 8 again, and we will see you at the end of Monday for your live check-in. Remember, on Monday, we'll look into user experience design and mobile app development. So a big day on Monday. Get some rest and see you on Monday.